A Starless Clan was a great arc for female villains. We have Berryheart, the xenophobic Shadow Clan warrior who ended up in a River Clan of all places. Berryheart wanted to rejoin her clan as its leader, but ended up dying in order to save her daughter, Sunbeam. However, her noble sacrifice was not enough to save her from the jaws of the Dark Forest. There is Sparkpelt too. While she isn't exactly a villain, some individuals in the fandom have portrayed her as such. However, it's clear that she wasn't exactly the best mother, as she neglected her son and her grief over the Lark Song hung over Nightheart like a cloud. However, Sparkpelt eventually apologized to Nightheart and was good to his mate, becoming the best mother she could be, even though she wasn't a very good one early in life. And then we have Curlfeather. It wasn't confirmed that Curlfeather was a villain until halfway through the arc, when it was revealed that Curlfeather had used Splashtail to try and take over River Clan. However, Splashtail wasn't the only cat that she used. She also influenced her daughter, Frostpaw, into becoming a healer so that she would have even more control over River Clan. Curlfeather manipulated her daughter in order to achieve her goals. However, does that mean she didn't love her? And even if she did love her, was Curlfeather a bad mother? Let's review. Before we get started, if you are new to this channel, please think about subscribing. I regularly post both Wings of Fire and Warrior Cats content so you'll never be bored. And to my current subscribers, thank you so much for supporting me. I wouldn't have gone here without y'all. Just a warning that this video will absolutely contain spoilers from the section named Star onwards. Most of this review will be using Frostpaw's apprentice name instead of her new healer name in order to prevent spoilers in early sections. Without further ado, let's begin. But before we talk about Curlfeather and Frostpaw, let's just go over only Curlfeather real quick. Curlfeather and her brother, Podlight, first appeared in A Vision of Shadows. During A Vision of Shadows, River Clan takes a beating. First, her clan was taken over and nearly driven to extinction by Darktail and his kin, whilst the other clans did nothing but watch. Afterwards, Misty Star closed off the clan to outsiders, only for a fire to occur in their camp, and they had to then get help from outsiders anyways. In A Broken Code, things likely got even worse for River Clan. A large part of the first book is the devastating winter that was occurring. The winter was so bad that the moon pool froze over. The lake likely froze over as well, which would have of course posed a challenge to River Clan. Misty Star took the side of the imposter and exiled her own healer, Mothwing, from her clan because she was half-clan. Then, during a battle, the imposter was revealed. However, Misty Star wasn't done with exiling cats quite yet. Icewing and Hairlight had fought against River Clan in the conflict, so she exiled them too, even though they were in the right. Misty Star finally made a good decision in going to the Dark Forest to rescue Squirrelflight and save all the other spirits. She gained the title of Light in the Mist, which allowed her the ability to confer with StarClan over changes in the Warrior Code, something that would become very controversial. As you can see here, River Clan has not been having a fun time in the arcs leading up to a Starless Clan. Curlfeather recognized the flaws in Misty Star's leadership during these arcs. Her stubbornness led her to not helping Shadow Clan against the kin, which almost cost the entire clan. She once again was stubborn in closing off River Clan and insisting they didn't need the help of outsiders, and then a fire happened, showing her way of doing things to be wrong. However, Misty Star didn't reflect and still kept on being stubborn and closed off to others' guidance. She exiled 3 cats from her clan for pretty much no reason. She practically allowed Brashstar, another leader, to exile Mothwing, her beloved healer who had been with her through thick and thin. And then she exiled Icewing and Hairflight for the crime of, wait for it, being right. They hurt her pride and she exiled them for it. Curlfeather's problems only worsened. She had kits who would be harmed by Misty Star's poor decisions in the future. Her mate, J-Claw, ended up dead, leaving her alone with 3 kits in a clan that was only going downhill. It was clear to Curlfeather that Misty Star's stubbornness was causing harm to River Clan. Curlfeather knew she couldn't just talk to Misty Star about it though. She had exiled cats for doing that in the Broken Code. She had to take more drastic measures. So Curlfeather began to plot a coup. And that brings us to the start of River. We open on Frostkit about to become a healer. Frostkit is worried that she isn't meant to be a healer, and Curlfeather reassures her that she is a healer. First of all, she's had visions, one of her father's death and another of a weather event. Second, she's been following Mothwing around. It's like she's Mothwing's apprentice already. Despite her worries, Frostpaw goes through with becoming a healer apprentice because of Curlfeather's reassurances. She already knows a decent amount of herbs from sticking around Mothwing's den, but now she's learning even more. And Mothwing is treating her more maturely. Frostpaw is also making friends with the other healers, mainly the only one around her age, Whistlepaw of Wind Clan. Meanwhile, Misty Star is making changes to the warrior code as a part of the Lights and the Mists, but a few clanmates aren't too fond of the changes, and they confront her. Misty Star, stubborn as ever, stands her ground but then topples forward off the high stump, dead from a heart attack. After Misty Star's death, Frostpaw is able to contact StarClan and make sure that Misty Star is with them and not coming back to life. This is another piece of evidence that she's a genuine healer and not one with a false connection to StarClan, like Shadowsight, or a true false healer, like Mothwing or Podlight. However, on the other paw, we've never seen this ability be used before in canon, not even with Jayfeather, who had the strongest StarClan connection ever. In this moment, after Misty Star's death, Curlfeather must have felt shocked, but also a bit relieved. She had been worried for moons about possibly having to kill her, and now she was dead without her having to lift a paw. But what about Reed Whisker, her son, and the soon-to-be leader of RiverClan? As we learn later, right after this, she met up with Splashtail and convinced him to go out and kill Reed Whisker. Left without its leader and deputy, RiverClan fell into chaos. They decided to make Mothwing and Frostpaw the temporary leaders of RiverClan. Frostpaw was overwhelmed by the responsibility. Curlfeather did her best to help support Frostpaw and shelter her from the disorder of the clan, showing her caring for her daughter, but also hiding the truth from her. Frostpaw supposedly had a vision which she believed could lead her to where Reed Whisker was. She had faith that the deputy was still alive, and unfortunately, she was wrong. Shortly after, Frostpaw and Splashtail went to the moon pool. Frostpaw didn't see StarClan, and when she woke up, she saw a feather on the trail leading out from the moon pool. The feather was put there by Splashtail, a fake omen for Curlfeather to become leader, and Frostpaw believed in it. Frostpaw returned to camp and declared Curlfeather the new leader. It seemed like Curlfeather's plan was working. Thanks to her making Frostpaw a healer, she would soon be leader. But on their way to receive the 9 lives, Curlfeather and Frostpaw were interrupted by a pack of dogs. They ran away, but the dogs were catching up to them. Curlfeather directed Frostpaw to climb up a tree and helped her get up. However, because she stopped to help, the dogs caught up to Curlfeather. The dogs surrounded Curlfeather. Frostpaw listened in horror to her mother's last words: "Keep RiverClan safe and trust no cat." And then, she watched in silence as she was torn apart by the dogs. It's very telling that in her final moments, Curlfeather put her daughter above herself. She could have ran away and let the dogs go after Frostpaw, the weak young healer, who would have made an easier target for the dogs. Instead, she decided to get Frostpaw to safety, even if it meant giving up her own life, even if it meant losing her chance at reshaping the clan into something stronger, something that she'd been working for moons. Her last words were, "Trust no one," a warning to Frostpaw to, well, not trust anyone. Though it would have been more convenient for her to say, "Don't trust Splashtail," one can hardly blame her for not thinking things 100% through in the moment, and the message was still delivered to Frostpaw in the end. Curlfeather sacrificed herself to save her daughter. Her daughter meant more to her than leadership. I don't understand how anyone can look at that and say that Curlfeather didn't love Frostpaw, or only wanted to become leader. But if this did not convince you, there's a lot more evidence in the coming sections. Frostpaw was, understandably, traumatized by what had just happened. Her mother's last words would have a lasting impact on her life, continuing to shape her destiny even if Curlfeather was not there to manipulate her directly. We don't see Curlfeather in Sky or Shadow, however, Frostpaw of course thinks a lot about her mother. She wishes that she could have somehow saved her mother, and often wishes that her mother was there to guide her. After she consistently failed to choose a valid leader, Frostpaw convinced herself that she wasn't a real healer. Her visions had all been figments of her imagination. Despite her worries that her visions weren't real, she believed the vision that she got of Reed Whisker's death, and believed that it was the real thing. Splashtail agreed with her and encouraged her to go to Wind Clan to talk to Whistlepaw. But on the way over, Frostpaw was attacked by Splashtail, who suspected that Frostpaw's, now very much sent by StarClan vision, would uncover the truth, that he had killed Reed Whisker. Frostpaw was almost killed by him, but was taken in by Two Legs and healed. When Frostpaw was beginning to recover, Riverstar came to deliver Frostpaw a vision, to go and seek help beyond the clans. While she was in StarClan with the founder, Frostpaw asked where Curlfeather was, and he dodged a question. Frostpaw met up with Nightheart, who was to be her guide along the journey. The two of them discussed how both of them had to live up to the expectations of their clanmates. Frostpaw talked about how becoming a healer wasn't her idea at all, it was Curlfeather's. Frostpaw and Nightheart went to the cats at a park, where they learned how to meditate. While meditating, Frostpaw had a vision. In the vision, she saw Curlfeather and Splashtail planning the coup. Frostpaw's worst fears were confirmed here. For the past few books, she is consistently worried that she wasn't a true healer. And here, she had pretty much been told that she isn't. Even worse, this is yet another betrayal of her from someone she trusted, this time being her own mother. Frostpaw questioned whether her mother loved her, or if she was just a means to the end of leadership. However, Riverstar pointed out that if she didn't love her, she wouldn't have sacrificed herself to save Frostpaw from the dogs, a sentiment I agree with. Now that she knew the truth about her own attempted murder and the RiverClan coup, Frostpaw decided to return to the clans. Her group arrived back in the clans at the perfect time. It was the full moon, and the 5 clans had gathered at the Gathering Island for the gathering. Splashtail was stood before the clans and was now calling himself the leader of RiverClan. This was perfect for Frostpaw. Every clan was in attendance. Every clan would hear the truth about his so-called leader's treachery. However, no one listened to her. The other clan leaders stood with Splashtail. Some of them disagreed with him, but didn't want to incur his wrath. The only cat willing to stand up for her was Tigerstar, the determined and abrasive Shadow Clan leader. Tigerstar took Frostpaw in, but that didn't keep Frostpaw from looking out for her clan. She snuck into the moon pool to watch Splashstar's leadership ceremony, and was shocked when, instead of receiving his 9 lives, Splashtail chose to mock StarClan. Frostpaw received a vision of Kits in danger in WingClan camp. No one believed her besides for Whistlepaw, who hurt herself trying to prevent the Kits from being harmed. Her fellow healer's faith in her helped to restore her faith in herself. This wasn't the first time Whistlepaw had stuck her neck out for her, and Frostpaw couldn't thank her enough. Whistlepaw reminded her that the two of them were even. She had saved Frostpaw's life for Splashtail, and now Frostpaw had saved her life. Those two are so cute together. I've already made a video on them and why I think they may or may not get together. Anyways, Frostpaw, Nightheart, and Sunbeam snuck into RiverClan camp and observed Splashtail killing his deputy Hairlight, proving his instability as leader. Frostpaw hoped that this would prove to be the turning point in the clan's opinion on the tyrant. Now, we're on to the final book in the Starless clan, Star. We open on a dream of Splashtail's. He's in camp getting out of his nest when he spots Hairlight, and something about the look on his face tells Splashtail that he needs a clawing. But before he can act on that impulse, Curlfeather appears, her pelt torn and her flesh exposed, her eyes slitted and bloodshot. She taunts him, saying that he had no plan and just copied her. He's doomed to failure. Curlfeather says that she had control over Frostpaw, which implies that she sees Frostpaw as a cat to be controlled. However, in the second paragraph, Curlfeather affirms that she does love Frostpaw and that Frostpaw is her kit, and is of course outraged that Splashtail tried to murder her because of that. After the dream, Splashtail spotted talking to the air a few times. Let me read out what he says. What was that? The false RiverClan leader pricked his ears. Sunbeam's pelt began to ruffle uneasily. He seemed to be listening to someone speaking, even though the camp was silent. As the other warriors waited to see what would happen next, did Splashtail really think that there was a cat standing next to him? I know that they can't be trusted. He lashed his tail. You don't need to tell me. I'm not a fool. There is no way that this isn't Curlfeather taunting him from beyond the grave, feeding into his paranoia so he messes up and makes even more mistakes. Curlfeather steps in later, right before Frostpaw's about to kill Splashtail. Then his attention seemed to drift. I'll be free of you now. His gaze seemed to be reaching for someone behind her, but no one was there. You'll be stuck in a dark forest. His mew was growing slurred, weakening with every breath. I'll be in StarClan. Never! Frostpaw heard her own mew, thick with hate, as though it belonged to another cat. I strongly believe that as though it belonged to another cat was because it did, and that cat was Curlfeather. Two souls cannot be in the same body at a time according to Warrior Cat's lore, but Warrior Cat's lore also works by the rule of cool, and this would be hella cool. Later, after Frostpaw was severely wounded and fell into a coma, we have an entire chapter dedicated to Frostpaw and Curlfeather. Whilst Frostpaw is in her coma, Curlfeather visits her in a series of dreams. In the first dream, when Frostpaw first came to her, her appearance was the same as when she had met Flashtail. mangled from her encounter with the dogs, fur ragged and torn, jaw sloughing off her face. However, a second later, Curlfeather's appearance changed back into the form that she was in when she was alive. This hasn't been confirmed anywhere, but dark forest cats might be able to make illusions. Hawkfrost was able to make a temporary illusion of a meadow in order to recruit Ivypaw. Curlfeather may have done the same in order to either scare Splashtail or more likely to comfort her daughter. If she changed her appearance to comfort her daughter, then it likely took a lot of energy. If using illusions didn't take a lot of energy, then every dark forest cat would be using illusions to pretend that they didn't live in a place as horrible as the dark forest. Just note that from this point forwards, I'm going to be reading from the book pretty heavily, so feel free to put it on times 2 speed if you want to just skip to the analysis. She padded forward and touched her muzzle to Curlfeather's cheek. She thought she'd never smell that warm sun again, like freshly woven reeds and rainwater and moss. She breathed in for a moment before she remembered. She used me. Curlfeather's betrayal rushed back, like water closing over her. She pulled away. Her pelt bristled. Why did you betray me? She watched her mother, hoping for a reason to forgive her, but Curlfeather only blinked calmly back at her. In this passage, we can clearly see Frostpaw's conflicting feelings on her mother. While she loves her mother, she also hates the way that her mother's actions have impacted her life. I was trying to help you, she mewed simply. As a daughter of the clan leader and a medicine cat, you'd have been important. You would have had power. I didn't want power, Frostpaw snapped. It would have made you safe. I was safe. I had a river clan. From this, we can see Curlfeather's justification of her actions. Even though she used Frostpaw, in the end it would have been good for her and the entire clan. Frostpaw's throat tightened. She turned away. Splashtail was dead, but cats were still suffering. Anger sparked in her chest. Her mother had started this. She glared at Curlfeather as the den disappeared and mist closed around them once more. Why did you want to become leader? I told you, Curlfeather blinked at her. I wanted you to be safe. You didn't need to be leader to make me safe. I wanted RiverClan to be safe, so you murdered Reed Whisker. Frostpaw's anger hardened. Splashtail murdered him. Curlfeather told her, it was your idea. If Reed Whisker had become leader, Curlfeather mewed, nothing would have changed. Why did anything have to change? Frostpaw was bewildered. RiverClan was fine. It was great. I loved it. You've ruined it. And I don't know if it will ever recover. And why? She didn't give her mother a chance to reply. She knew the answer. Rage was boiling in her belly. You were greedy. You were selfish. You wanted power. That's not true. That's not true. Curlfeather looked hurt. For far too long, Misty Star let the other clans tell us what to do and how to think. She listened to their opinions, let their needs guide ours. Reed Whisker would have done the same, but with me as leader, RiverClan would have been strong. We could have led the clans instead of following them. Led them where? Curlfeather didn't seem to care. It would have worked if Splashtail had killed me. This mess is his fault, not mine. Really? Frostpaw couldn't believe her mother could be so blind. Killing a Reed Whisker and tricking me into giving my clanmates false messages from StarClan was okay. It was the only way to make sure that RiverClan had a leader who could make it strong. Why did it have to be strong? Frostpaw wailed. Her mother wasn't listening. It was fine as it was. Curlfeather looked at her. You lied to me. Frostpaw knew this wasn't her mother's worst crime, but right now it felt like the worst. You're my mother. I'm supposed to be able to trust you. But you told me I was a medicine cat. You told me I could share with StarClan, and I believed you. But I was right, wasn't I? Curlfeather looked puzzled. You are a medicine cat. You can share with StarClan. I can now, Frostpaw mewed, but now it's too late. The things I told our clanmates, things you tricked me into telling them, were lies. She stared at her mother, her heart pounding, desperate to hear Curlfeather say something that would make what she'd done seem reasonable. But Curlfeather didn't try to explain. Frostpaw bristled. You fooled me into thinking I was special, she yelled. You used me to feed lies to my clan. Curlfeather's eyes flashed indignantly. I did it for you. It is clear from Curlfeather's dialogue that she does love Frostpaw. However, Frostpaw is also an excuse for her. She did everything for her kids. Can you really blame a mother for doing that? Even if she did kill cats, even though she lied to Frostpaw about her destiny, the ends justify the means to her. Frostpaw. Her mother's voice called to her from the darkness of sleep, and she followed it back into the mist. What else did Curlfeather have to say? More excuses? Impatience pricked at Frostpaw's belly, but at the same time she wanted to follow. She wanted to breathe her mother's scent and hear her voice and feel her close. Frostpaw's thoughts highlight Curlfeather's manipulating nature and the hold that Curlfeather has over her. Though Curlfeather makes a lot of excuses for herself, she eventually does apologize. "I'm sorry things ended up the way that they did," her mother mewed at last. "I'm sorry I trusted Splashtail." She leaned closer. "I'm sorry for hurting you." Disappointment dropped like a stone in Frostpaw's belly. "But aren't you sorry for murdering your deputy? I told you, Splashtail murdered." Curlfeather paused as a new thought seemed to strike her. "Whoever killed him, Reed Whisker had to go." She met Frostpaw's gaze with an earnestness that chilled Frostpaw to the bone. He needed to make way for a better river clan. The mist darkened. Blackness pressed at the edge of Frostpaw's vision as Curlfeather began to fade. Fear flashed in her mother's eyes. Bloodstains showed on her pelts. Her ears were torn once more. "She's going back to the dark forest." "No!" Frostpaw fought to keep sight of her mother. The long gash running from Curlfeather's mouth to her eye had opened up and was glistening darkly. "Not yet!" Frostpaw's mew became a wail as she watched her mother's frightened gaze glitter for a moment before it dissolved with the rest of her, and disappeared into shadow. Frostpaw stared at the empty darkness. Curlfeather had gone away from here forever, back to the dark forest. Without ever having acknowledged the harm she'd done, Frostpaw felt heavy with grief. Had Curlfeather always had this darkness inside her? Was I just too stupid to know? The two cats she'd loved most, Curlfeather and Splashtail, had been wicked. They'd betrayed her, murdered clanmates, and hurt everyone they'd ever known. And now she was left with only the suffocating weight of knowing that she was going to have to fix everything that they destroyed. Even though Frostpaw recognizes that her mother is manipulating her with excuses, she still loves her mother and is fearful when she disappears. In the same way, Curlfeather could have manipulated her daughter and still loved her at the same time. Curlfeather isn't seen again in the book. She was likely too busy tracking down and killing Splashtail and potentially Berryheart in the dark forest. Frostpaw went to the moon pool for her long overdue full healer ceremony. During the ceremony, she was given the name Froston, which is interesting for 3 different reasons. The first reason is because that's just a really cool name. I mean, Froston. It really draws to mind a field as the sun is beginning to rise, lit by golden and white crystals so bright you have to squint in order to see. It has to be one of my favorite warrior names, alongside Ambermoon and Leafshade. The second is because it fits in with the other arc's protagonists. The other 2 protagonists are Nightheart and Sunbeam. Froston fits with the theme. It also sort of closes the gap between them, showing all that they've done for Froston has only brought the two's relationship closer together. Third, it calls to mind something that Curlfeather said. When she was taunting Splashtail from the dark forest, she said, "I would have led RiverClan into a golden dawn, not a bloody sunset." Froston is the cat who has led RiverClan into a golden dawn. Early in the arc, she had the responsibility of choosing a new leader shoved upon her. For 5 books, she struggled, choosing cat after cat, and finally, she's managed to succeed in making Icewing, now Icestar, the leader of RiverClan. It's unknown how Icestar will do as new leader of RiverClan, however, Froston has managed to bring RiverClan into a new era. Icestar's promised that she will make the clan more stable, which is what Curlfeather wanted all along. In the end, Froston's destiny was decided by Curlfeather. It was Curlfeather who made her into a healer, and then the cat who had to choose the next leader. Though she rejected it and often doubted herself, she ultimately fulfilled her artificial destiny. Not only StarClan has the ability to make prophecies, it appears. Upon receiving her healer name, Froston thought about Curlfeather. Froston, she felt a joy so intense it was almost like pain. If only Curlfeather could see this. Her mother tried to make her into a fake medicine cat, and now that lie had become the truth. I am a real medicine cat. RiverClan's moons of suffering were over. Froston lifted her chin. I'm going to take care of my clan. I'm going to make sure that they never suffer again. Froston doesn't allow herself to feel sad that Curlfeather defined her destiny. Instead, she takes it into her own paws. She recognizes the irony of the situation and the part Curlfeather had to play in it. And then, she moves on. She will no longer live in the shadow of her mother's actions and follow down the trail that she made. Instead, she will do what she feels is right for her clan. I feel like Icestar puts it the best in her first speech to her clan. Your actions and words were twisted by a skilled manipulator. He used your loyalty and courage against you. He threatened the vulnerable and exploited the weak. He made you believe that not supporting him would destroy the clan, when the opposite was true. Her blue eyes burned. We must forgive each other, and we must forgive ourselves. Frostdawn has learned to cope with the complicated legacy of her mother, and has learned to forgive herself for believing in her. So, did Curlfeather love Frostdawn? I feel like what makes part of this conversation so complicated is that she's one of the rare villains where her goals aren't murder everyone and sad days forever. She believes in making a better clan, and that doesn't include killing all the half-clan cats or something insane like that. Though her goals were pure, her actions were not. Her actions included manipulating Frostdawn, her own daughter. But I still believe that despite that, Curlfeather loved Frostdawn. I feel like that is plain to see. However, she was also a ruthless cat. She was willing to lie to Frostdawn and change her entire destiny in order to quote-unquote protect her. She was willing to kill Reed Whisker too, and fake signs. Curlfeather believed that the ends justified the means. The ends for her was a stronger river clan, one where her kits would be safe, and everyone else would be too. She would bring a golden dawn to her clan, even if that meant scraping through a bloody moon. Now, time for the second half of the equation. Was Curlfeather a good mom? Hell no. Even if she only had the best in mind for Frostdawn, she still manipulated her and brought her into the coup. Frostdawn almost died due to her actions multiple times. First to the dogs, which Curlfeather sacrificed herself to so that Frostdawn could live, and second to Splashtail, who was desperate to protect the secret of the coup. Curlfeather also refused to take accountability for what had happened, even though her final words to Frostdawn contained an apology for everything that happened to her. Curlfeather still believed that she had to kill Reed Whisker, and that if Splashtail hadn't ruined everything, what she did to Frostdawn would have been justified. Splashtail was the problem in her eyes, not her. Though Curlfeather loved Frostdawn and her other kits, she wasn't the best mother to them. She made bad choices, but deep down, she did love her kits, and did everything for them, even if it included trying to stage a coup, which quickly turned out of control. I feel like the Warrior Cats fandom has difficulty in talking about bad moms and complicated relationships to mothers. This can be seen in older characters like Palebird, and even Bluestar, and more modern characters like Sparkbelt. The fandom often tends to lump in bad mothers with outright abusive ones who hurt their kits, physically or emotionally, like Rainflower and Lizardstripe. Both Rainflower and Lizardstripe hated their kits, and so they abused them. But the truth is, just because you love someone doesn't mean you can't hurt them unintentionally. Curlfeather loved Frostdawn, and she hurt her too, by doing what she thought would be the best for her. So yes, Curlfeather loved Frostdawn. She wasn't the best mother, but she did love her. But that's just my opinion on Curlfeather. What's yours? Did she love Frostdawn? Was she a bad mom? Comment down below. If you liked this video, feel free to subscribe. I make Wings of Fire and Warrior Cats videos pretty often, and your support would mean a lot to me. And to those who are already subscribed, thank you so much for your continued support. I wouldn't have gotten here without y'all. Peace, Rogan out.